All right. So, hi guys, welcome to the Karen Chain Show. So today we have a very special guest. He is one of my good friend on LinkedIn. Please welcome Gareth Rafferty. Hi Gareth, welcome back to the show.
Hi, it's glad to be back.
Yes, I'm so pleased to have you again. I remember we had our interview a year ago. Is that right? Year ago.
That's crazy that it's been a year already.
Yes, it's been a year already, and we talk about personal branding on LinkedIn in particular. And since then, you know what? It has helped me a lot in building my personal brand on LinkedIn, and it has helped me in growing my business. So, thank you for that, Garrett. You've been so
No
helpful.
problem. No
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, so today, Garrett and I were going to talk about how to scale your content marketing strategy. So, Garrett, I read from one of your recent posts lately that you have stepped down on your company and you take the role of being a content marketing manager at Trust Keith. Am I right? I'm really sorry, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
So can you share to us a few reasons why you made the decision and why, and I mean, what does Trust Keith do and why you applied for that role?
So for me, and it's what I told Trust Keith during the interview process, the company as a whole, generally it works in a pretty boring topic, data protection, which everyone, whenever they think of like data protection and all these policies and legal stuff, it just sounds boring. And the whole point of this company is to try and make it super simple for tech founders, scale-ups and startups to basically not necessarily make it enjoyable, but make it simple and easy to understand. And the whole culture side of Trust Keith is what really drew me to the company and what made me apply for that role. I stepped down from my company for multiple reasons. Number one, I was just kind of fed up with constantly showing up every single day and just feel like I was in this, like on this treadmill of just doing the same again and again and again and again. And it just felt like nothing was working. And just overall, I started noticing that I was focusing on different things and wanting to learn new skills. So I thought, you know what, it's been a good run, but I'm now going to step away from this and move on to the next chapter of my life and really focus on learning throughout my 20s and to see where this ends up when, I don't know, 5 years time, 10 years time, when I'm reaching my 30s, and to see where I end up really, and to start focusing on learning.
Yeah, that's so true. Because like, once I think what I've learned also is that you never stop learning. Yeah, just keep on learning. Because the more you keep on learning, the more you keep on growing, right? So try out new things.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah, definitely. Me too. I would love to learn new things also, like going out of my comfort zone and then, try new things, right? And for you, especially because
Yeah,
you're still
definitely.
young. You're still in your 20s.
It was weird though, because as you'll know, when you've got your own company,
Yeah.
you want to focus all your attention and all your spare time on that. And I noticed that whenever I wanted to do anything else, I was almost like telling myself off for wanting to spend time just doing simple things like reading a book or wanting to have some time to relax, because I was so ingrained that I needed to work every single hour of every single day that I had possible in order to make this company work. And it definitely isn't sustainable. And so if there's anyone out there that's watching and they're in that situation, don't beat yourself up for taking a little break on the weekend, because the truth is we all need breaks, and actually it makes us more productive.
Yes, absolutely. That's true. To avoid burnout, right? Yes, we all
Yeah,
do that.
definitely.
Yeah, and since your role is being a content marketing manager, so the topic today really fits it, right? So because we're gonna
Yeah,
talk about,
definitely.
yes, content creation, content marketing, and everything in between about that topic. So first things first. So how content marketing is changing the game for small businesses nowadays? Like how it helps thrive in the digital world.
I think in terms of digital, we're in a really interesting phase now, because obviously we had the internet boom in the early 2000s, and a little bit before that with like social media and everything coming in the early 2000s. And companies were really trying to jump on that. You had some small companies which did an amazing job and it made them grow to multi-billion pound companies. But now everyone knows that social and digital is important. Well, most people know. I'm not going to say everyone, because there's still people out there that don't think it works for their business. And so Now that we've had that, and now that there's a realization, people are starting to wonder, okay, which platforms should I be on and which platforms shouldn't I be on? And I think that's really interesting, because as we have new platforms emerging, similar to Clubhouse is up and coming. Obviously, you've got TikTok and LinkedIn as well, which are the ones where everyone's eyes are on these platforms. It's interesting because if you're in a B2B market, you can focus on LinkedIn, maybe Facebook if you want to do some Facebook ads on the side. And even I've seen B2B people going on TikTok as well. But if you're more on the B2C side, you don't have to be on absolutely every platform now. And I think people are realizing that. And so it's going to be really interesting to see the next 5 years in business, to see how these individual businesses are selecting which platforms they want to be on, as opposed to thinking that they have to be on every platform.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, so this is for those who are just starting out. Like, how are you going to build your own content marketing strategy? Like, what are the things that we need to keep in mind in order to create the strategy from scratch for the new ones?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm actually working on that at the moment with Trust Keith. There's kind of a few things that you've got to think about when you're building out that kind of content strategy or roadmap. And target audience is a really, really big one. Obviously, everyone talks about target audience, personas, all that different stuff about, you need to get really specific on who those people are. But I would take that with a pinch of salt. A lot of marketers say, you've got to be super focused and you look at all the data. But I think sometimes you can go the other way. A lot of people in the B2B market, they say, okay, we need to focus on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is the go-to place for B2B. But they don't think that at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever time these people finish, they're going to go somewhere else. They're not going to spend their evenings on LinkedIn. So actually, there's a great place to target them on different platforms when they're in a more social mindset and they're more open to talking. And I definitely think a lot of people miss that. So obviously, target audience, have a dive into your target audience. You can do some research around how to find your target audience online. There's tons and tons and tons of videos out there. I'll also be very, very clear in the goals that you want to achieve at the very, very beginning. A lot of people just go into it and they say, okay, I know who my audience is. I'm just going to start posting. But if you don't know what you're aiming towards, you never know if you're going to be successful. And that success might change. Like, these goals aren't set in stone, but just having an idea of what you're heading towards is extremely valuable. And then on top of those two things, I think all around, just looking at the tone of voice that you want to portray to others. If you want it to be a bit more social and a fun character like Trust Keith is aiming for, then that's great. Then you know the sort of tone that you want to take when it comes to commenting or messaging others. But obviously, if you want to go for that really formal approach, then of course you can do that also. So overall, I would say it's those main three things. And I think everything else, like, for example, your camera setup, your lighting, where you film videos, the graphics that you've got, I think all of that fits around it. But those are the three main pillars, I would say.
Okay, cool. All right. So how are you going to overcome those struggles when it comes to content creation? I know a lot of people are, struggling to coming up with new content ideas, or even like having those confidence in creating videos. So what's your advice for it?
It's interesting. You asked this question at a really interesting time for me, because I haven't been posting as regular as what I usually do over the past kind of 2 months, because I've been in this strange mindset where I'm not sure where I'm taking my brand next. So it's a really interesting time, because every time I jump on video, I feel like I don't know where I'm heading. So I'm currently going through this process of reevaluating where I want to take my personal brand. And obviously it's the same with business brands. So when it does come into that phase, whether you're changing everything up like I am, or whether you are just at that beginning phase, overcoming confidence really comes with that first step. If you look at the people like Shay Rowbottom, who have these massive accounts, they get hundreds of thousands of comments. If you look at all these people with all their crisp videos, it's going to put you off doing video. So sometimes you just need to shut these people out and just focus on, okay, I want to make 1 video a week for the next month. And if I do that, then I've achieved my goal. And really, a lot of people say shoot for the stars. I say shoot for your feet. and just aim really, really low and then scale it up, as opposed to saying, okay, this month I'm going to do one video every day and I'm going to respond to 30 comments every single day, because then it becomes a massive task. If you set the lowest barrier that you can possibly do and then scale up, it's going to be largely more effective. It's the same when it comes to reading, which I suggested to a few people about a year ago, actually, that when you read, instead of saying, okay, I want to read a book a month, instead say, I want to read a page a day and build that habit. That habit will be largely more effective than just trying to have a short burst of energy and then it just fading out in a week's time or 2 weeks' time when something does hit the road and gets in your way.
Okay, all right. That's so. I learned something from you again. Okay. Okay, so scaling up your content marketing strategy. So I'm going to ask some of the ways on how to do it. Okay, so one of them is using the evergreen content. So what is evergreen content and how can you leverage it for your marketing strategy?
Evergreen content is really interesting because I rarely hear that terminology, but I know exactly what it means. I don't think people use that terminology as much, but evergreen content is essentially content that is good all year round, similar to trees. I think that's where it initially comes from, the terminology, because an evergreen tree is green all year round, and it pretty much makes sense from the name. So just with content, like, for example, if I made a video today of what is personal branding, it's a super simple video, but that content I could post any day of the year and it would work. But there's other content, like, for example, a few years ago in the UK, when we announced that we're leaving the EU, if I posted that now, it doesn't work and it's not as effective as what it would have been the day after the votes came in and we found out the EU was going to leave, that the UK was going to leave the EU. So that's the main difference. There's one which is more timely, more reactive to what's going on in the news or the media. And then the other one is just simply general posts. So for example, another great example is LinkedIn versus TikTok, which is better. Now that's relatively evergreen because you can post it within the next, say, 2 to 3 years and it'll probably work. But if you come back in about 5 years and the platforms have changed, it might not be as effective. So generally there's quite a lot of content that's evergreen and you can just constantly reuse it. Similar to this video, it will be relatively effective for the next, say, year or so. But as the platforms change, obviously tips and advice will change. So yeah. I hope that helps.
Okay. Yes, it is. It helps. Okay. So how about using emotive content? I saw it in your post. And how are you going to grab people's attention by using emotions in your content?
It's funny. I was reading a book called #Hooked, I think the book's called. And that really dives into the whole premise of emotional content. In particular, it tells you that some emotions get more reactions, more comments, more likes than other types of emotions. So for example, if someone's scared, for example, obviously a lot of people don't like spiders, myself included. If I see a spider on my screen, it's going to make me jump, it's going to make me react. Now, whilst that might not necessarily make me like the post because I don't want to get anywhere near a spider, it will make me switched on to that brand. So whenever I see that brand or that personal brand, whatever that may be, it will make me more switched on and more tuned to their content. It's the same if you post cute photos. Now, cute always sells. The same as people say sex sells. I really like to say that cute sells. And the reason I say that is because I don't think I've ever seen a photo of a dog that I haven't liked. And that is exactly the point. Because if you post a photo of a dog, unless it's an extremely ugly dog, it's going to perform well.
Yeah.
It's the same if you post a photo of an elderly person with a baby, it's probably going to perform well. Elderly people generally perform well. So these types of content that makes you stop and be like, oh, that's so cute. You'll usually give it a like, at least as a bare minimum. Or you might say, oh, my granddad looks exactly like this guy. They could be best friends. And then you tag a few of your friends and they engage too. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I see it. So it's that thing that's going to make you stop. It's going to make you want to engage. And a lot of people try to overcomplicate it. They say, oh yeah, you need this really big marketing strategy that's going to make people stop. It's going to make people feel this, that, and the other. But the way I see it is, if you stop on social media for anything more than 1 second, take mental note of what that piece of content is and try and apply a similar idea to your own business. Because if you're stopping, someone else is most likely going to stop on a similar piece of content.
Yeah, that's so true. All right. So how about using polls, quiz, stuff like that, asking questions in your content marketing strategy? I think it's also a great way to drive engagement. Do you agree with it?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge fan of asking questions. Some people say I ask too many questions, but I'm just really curious. Generally, when it comes to a piece of content, in terms of asking questions, I ask one question. If you start to ask 2 or more, it can lose the call to action, as it's called in the marketing world. It can lose its effectiveness because people get confused. You want people to have one sole focus, similar to when it comes to websites. You want one call to action. You don't want to say, oh yeah, download my ebook and give me a call and drop me an email, because then people don't know what to do. And usually they'll end up just leaving and going to your competitor, most likely. In terms of polls and that side of things, I think polls, as much as a lot of people on LinkedIn don't really like them, they say, oh, I've seen too many of them. You've seen too many of them because they're highly effective, and also because you're probably voting on the polls. So a lot of people don't like polls, but they will still vote. Now, so if you're thinking about putting out a poll, I would say the best thing to do is focus on the people that are voting, as opposed to the likes and comments you get, because usually you get more votes than you do likes and comments. It's because if you have a question right in front of you, you might not even read the post. You'll just click that answer because it's right there. Whereas if you're liking and commenting, you've then got to scroll down. You've got to click the like button, comment. You've got to spend a bit more time. Whereas voting on polls, they're very, very quick. So it's really good if you want to get engagement on figuring out where to take your content marketing strategy, because you can literally ask your audience and they'll say, oh yeah, I want to watch this video, or actually, I would prefer to watch this video first. I did it on one of my client pages a few months back, and we saw it was really interesting to see that actually what we thought was going to be really effective and what they wanted to see, it turns out that was the least video they wanted to see, and actually they wanted to see other types. So basically, just to give you a brief overview of what we did, we looked at what he wanted to talk about, and we dived into 3 video ideas of what he could potentially talk about. And then we put it out on a poll and said, hey, which one do you guys want to see first? And they came back and they said, okay, we want to watch a day in the life video, or we want to watch how to build your financial company, or how to be a good leader. And by having these 3 options, it gave people the motive to then turn up to that next piece of content. So as soon as he produces that video, he can tag all the people that voted in the poll to say they wanted to see that video, and thus making that video also have more engagement because you've tagged the individuals in the comments. So I think polls can be really interesting if you use them as part of your strategy. If you use them to just ask random questions, then maybe not as effective. You actually want to do something with the data, something with the people that are voting to build the conversation further than just getting them to vote on a poll.
Awesome. That's so nice. So good. Okay, so how about video content? How are we going to scale it up? I know there are a lot, so you need to like stand out from the competition.
You probably know I'm a huge fan of video. I really like video. It just resonates with me. Now, whilst it doesn't resonate with a lot of people's character, a lot of people prefer to write. I'm definitely a video guy. In terms of scaling that up, you can do it a lot of different ways. I've seen a lot of people, they like to make a long form video that's maybe an hour, maybe half an hour long, and then chop it up into lots of little bits. That's the Gary Vee approach, if you want to call it that. I know Gary Vee talks about that a lot, Gary Vaynerchuk, for those of you that haven't heard of him. And that can be a great approach if that's what you want to do. But most of that content is going to be evergreen content, as you mentioned, which is great, but sometimes you want the more reactive content. For me, I do a bit of both. So I don't usually film the really long videos, because unless you're posting that somewhere, almost becomes ineffective. But often what I like to do is sometimes I might film 3 videos in one day. So for example, on Sunday, I could film 3 videos and then edit them on Sunday because it's a free day. I don't really have much to do on Sundays. And then I can post that throughout the week. And that can still be relatively reactive because it's been within a week. I also tend to film on the day, which a lot of people will probably be like, oh no, I can't do that. But sometimes just filming on the day makes it fresh, it keeps it up to date. And it means that if things do change, generally you can't get caught out by it. Whereas if you film a piece of content a week in advance and it's quite a reactive piece, by the time a week has happened, something might have changed that you might not know about. And so that post part of it can be relevant, and you're more open to a backlash. Not that you're probably going to get a backlash. I mean, you probably won't. But yeah, I tend to take a really small business approach, if you want to call it that, where I either do it daily or I might make 3 posts in a day, as opposed to, you know, like doing it weeks and weeks in advance, as I know, especially larger companies, they tend to do.
All right. So what about repurposed content? Oh, I love repurposed content. So I know it's a great way to scale up your content creation as well. So how to repurpose content and how to make the most of your marketing on it.
Repurposed content, again, it's one of those things which I've seen quite a lot of people do. And there's lots of ways. So as I mentioned, that 1 hour or half an hour video, if you take that piece of content and you put it on YouTube as the full video, you can then take 10, maybe 5 different sections of that video and have, I don't know, 2-minute pieces of content. And then you can post those on LinkedIn. And then you can then snip those down and get the key quotes or funny things that have happened. Or for example, if you're in a meeting and someone fell off the chair, you can snip that and say, one of my best meeting bloopers ever, and then have a short video repeating itself of them falling off the chair. And then that means you can snip it down even more from those 2-minute videos, giving you roughly 30 pieces of content. You can probably do more. Maybe you'll have less. It depends on the piece of content and how quality it is, I suppose. I was doing a similar activity for Trust Keith, and they do specific sessions with their clients. And I was taking some of that content and I was giving them ideas of how they could split that down and repurpose it. And it's a similar premise. I mean, it doesn't all have to be video. It can be graphic quote cards or tips that someone gave. So just like in this session, you could probably repurpose this into how to repurpose your content and have like a carousel post, the slidey ones, where it's the top 3 tips that Gareth gave. And so that's automatically repurposed. They can watch the video, they can watch the full thing on YouTube, or of course they can see that graphic. And you can repurpose as much as you like. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a short period of time. It can be over a series of 6 months, a year. And really, if there's anything valuable, even if it's just a sentence or 2, you can turn it into a video, especially with TikTok being really popular right now with 6-second videos. People are willing to watch anything, especially short form. So yeah, you can be super, super creative with how you repurpose. And I definitely haven't done it enough, to be honest.
Yeah, that's so nice. That's why I love repurposed content. All right. So to sum it up, any tips or advice that you can share to us on how to effectively scale up your content marketing strategy?
For me, I definitely think in terms of starting in particular, it's just literally getting started. Don't put pressure on yourself. And if you like set super, super low goals, as I said, and just literally just keep trying. It may feel like you're not doing well or people are performing better, but honestly, you will get to that point. I didn't think when I first started that I was going to go out and buy myself a camera, an SD card, a tripod and all the rest of it. But that's where I've scaled up to. And it's just making that commitment to yourself that you're going to show up once a week, twice a week, however many times a week that is. And just doing it for yourself as opposed to for the likes, the comments and the views. I think that's super, super important. And that's what's going to take you to that next level when it comes to actually producing content. And on those days where you don't feel like jumping on camera or making a post, you're still doing it because it's for you, it's not for anyone else. So if you have that focus, I think that will really, really help, especially on the personal brand side, in terms of moving forward and consistently creating content.
Yeah.
And yeah, as I said, just having that clear goal of where you're aiming for as well.
All right. So, wow. Once again, I've been blown away with a lot of insightful information from you, Gareth. So scaling up your content marketing strategy to make it more effective, efficient, and of course, it will help you drive sales as well, right? So
yeah, definitely.
So thank you so much, Gareth. I really enjoyed our talk today. So guys, if you want to dig in deeper into all things content creation, personal branding, social media marketing, and more, please connect with Gareth on LinkedIn. Am I right? It's only on LinkedIn that they can connect with you, or on all of your social media. Okay. All right. Because I think, yeah, Gareth is more active on LinkedIn. So once again, Gareth, thank you so much for this amazing interview with you. I look forward for more of our talks. And thank you, and I'll see you around.
Thanks.